Hey, and welcome back to the In Your Corner podcast. I'm Keith Dixon, and I hope you're getting back into the swing of things, back into your routine and structure after the new year. Now, the first couple of episodes of the podcast were just some foundational work, a little bit of my story, background, a little bit of the reset, the rebuild, and starting over. This episode now, it's going through the habits that are underneath all that, the things beneath it. This episode is about masks, the masks we wear, masculinity, and the man behind the smile. In today's world, it's all about the power and the course of social media, the wins, the losses, everybody's success or failures, their daily life, our bodies, how we live. Everything is a performance. I've seen it myself in the health and fitness industry that I've been a part of for almost 25 years now. And there's that pressure to always be strong, always look confident, always look in control, that you have everything together. And I think, as I said, with social media now, everything is just a performance reel. Such fakeness as well in all of that. And as a coach, I think there's even more pressure for you to be seen like that. Always strong, always confident, just having everything together. And that's where I think a lot of people can mistake strength as never struggling, never having any lows. We mask things very easily. We hide things away. Even when I was going through the court cases and dealing with solicitors and the eviction of the gym and losing the gym, some of the people closest to me never knew half of what was going on. You still get up, put on the show every day, and you always wear that smile, carry that act. And I think that's the different type of masks we get used to wearing around different people, different situations. And a lot of the time, the masks are not built overnight. They don't just appear overnight. Think about it. Comes through from childhood, through our teen years, adult life. We've always learned what gets accepted, what gets approval. Think about it growing up as a child, where you got praise, and if you had behaviours or actions that weren't getting that appraisal or approval, you hid them away. You shrunk down. So that's what we do growing up. And even in adulthood, then it stays with us. We learn what gets approval, what gets attention, even what gets respect. But also in that, we learn about silence. To silence the bad parts of us, what we think are bad traits. Shrink down ourselves, elements of ourselves. Shrink down some of our behaviours. We've learned what can get approval in certain situations or from certain people. And then you learn what to hide away in those same situations. So around different people, in different rooms, we wear different masks, a different persona, carrying an act, a bravado. I'm 50. I'm going to be turning 50 soon. And I think especially for male, my generation growing up, you were always told you had to be tough, not show emotion, no complaining, just get up, get on with things. I think it's a very generational thing. I'm sure My father had it in a different way. His father in a different way again. And that's just part of what we call life now, isn't it? It's accepted as just growing up, to just told to get on with things. And if you didn't fit into that mold or didn't live up to that, let's face it, think about it. You were slagged off. You were sidelined. You were dismissed. Sometimes with behaviours. Sometimes with a simple look. With words. Sometimes it's in a joke or humour. And I've been guilty of that myself as well with other people. Made some nasty comments, threw some bad looks, and words can be very sharp, very dangerous, and can stick with you, especially in childhood. I'm sure we all have a time or a memory of something or somewhere when someone's words have stuck with us. I'm sure you can think of something right now, a situation right now. See, words can stay longer than people realise. That's what can train certain behaviours. That's what can dictate some of the masks we wear and hide some traits in our personality. I'm sure everyone can sit and think now, who am I really? What mask am I wearing right now, wherever you are? I've always had a personal interest reading up on the works of the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. It started from just a personal interest. Then over the last couple of years of losing everything and restarting again, I realised even more how relevant it was to certain situations and how relevant it was into my life to move forward. It was always an interest around, especially his book, The Psychology of Self, his work, his shadow work, and also the male archetypes. I went on workshops and retreats to learn about those things for myself, and then even studied them further, delved into them much further. Not for certificates or for courses, but simply for my own work, to master my own self, my own emotions. Shadow work I find fascinating and interesting because I think real self-awareness, real self-development is not these fancy buzzwords you see online of everything being positive, everything being good, meditating to whale music and just shit like that. It's the real self-development, self-awareness is getting real, facing into the dark. And that's what shadow work showed me, done for me. It's about those hidden traits, those hidden emotions, anger, jealousy, insecurity, why they were there in certain situations, why I behave certain ways in those situations, and then what I did to reflect away from that or hide away from that. See, it's not focusing then on the positive of self-improvement. It's facing into the bad, the darker elements. That's real emotional intelligence. That's real self-awareness. And with the archetypes, the male archetypes, I remember being on a retreat, a workshop 2 years ago, and it was all about the male archetypes. I've always fairly knew a bit about them. The king, the warrior, the lover, the joker would be the big four, the main four. The king representing leadership, responsibility. But if the king is off balance, or on the bad, the negative side of that leadership becomes control, becomes dominance, almost tyrant dictatorship. The warrior, a man of action, a man with healthy boundaries. But again, on the negative or the bad side of that, it's a reactive man, an angry man, a man on constant battle mode, always ready for a fight. Then you have the lover, wanting that emotion, that connection. And again, on the bad side of that, it can be avoidance of responsibility, avoidance of connection and emotion. And then you have your joker, the humor, the playful side. And obviously going through different stages of life, you forget. I forgot it plenty of times, just to have that playfulness in life, that bit of humor. Some people hide behind jokes, hide behind humor. You think of that jolly fat man, but really inside he's not happy. He wants to change, and it's a hiding, it's a mask again that we wear. And at different times in your life, no matter what, you're never ever just one archetype on its own. They all cross over through different stages, different situations. That's wearing different masks. And that's always good to sit, to learn and reflect on, in certain situations, what mask you have on. In certain rooms, what mask you have on. Around certain people, what mask you have on. And being aware of that is what's healthy, what keeps us connected. Because it's very easy for those lines to get blurred between what's real and what's not. In your character, in your behaviour, and in the mask you're wearing. I'm sure, like even for me in the gym, and I'm sure you can relate to this, you go to your work, you go to your job, and no matter what's going on, you have to put on your smile, get your shirt up and carry on. The show must go on. It's like the ringmaster in the circus, the greatest showman. That's your act, that's your performance, that's your bravado, but that's also your mask. And what we accept as just daily living can become quite harmful to us. It can come at a cost. We can look strong on the outside, but be quite chaotic inside. Whereas clarity will always clear chaos. Especially in the health and fitness industry, I've met and seen so many different types of people, so many different types of character, men and women. I've seen the body beautiful, the people that look full of confidence, look like they have it all together, and they can be the most anxious, the most insecure people around. They live their life with gaps. That's where other voices come in, like drink, drugs, porn, even just infidelity, chasing other people. And sometimes that's what can happen. It can always be the chase, whether it's the next person, the next thing, the next title, the next course, whatever it is. And I've been there myself. I've done it all myself. And even with different courses, different workshops, it was always, I've realised in the past couple of years, it's hiding behind another course, hiding behind another qualification, rather than putting what you're learning into practice, taking action on it. Because sometimes we hide behind these things in case the real us is seen, or a real side of our character is seen, a real side of our personality. If the mask comes off. So many people in this world, men or women, we just want to be seen. We just want to be visible, acknowledged, to feel wanted. And that's where the masks comes up, the bravado, the act, the performance that we put on. Then we don't think about what if we are seen, but for our true selves. If you could sit today and ask yourself, what would be 3 things about yourself that you wouldn't want people to know, you wouldn't want people to see? Who are you when nobody is watching, when nobody is around? Then what character are you in? What masks do you wear? A lot of the time, we're afraid of that because we think if a real trait of ours, a real character of ours, sometimes it's even in a moment, if it's a moment of anger, a moment of jealousy, and we're reactive to something, what would people think about that? So we always have to put on the performance, as we said earlier, the strong person, the confident person, the person full of competence, the hero, always the hero. But everything is a polarity. There's a negative and a positive to everything. Every situation is a frequency and energy. There's always a balance to good and bad. What you have to remember about characteristics like that, think of strength, for example. Uncontrolled strength is simply aggression. You have to have the awareness of that. Uncontrolled anger, reactiveness, that becomes domination. Domination just leads to control and behavior. You want to control everything and everyone around you. That's where leadership can thin line between the mask with the king archetype there as well. Leadership can lead into just dominance, dictatorship, almost like a tyrant. A real king will lead in his kingdom, standing beside people, with people, not high above, ruling over. I think at the moment there's such a debate on social media, especially about masculinity, toxic masculinity, what's toxic. There's all these buzzwords. It's nearly turning into a battle of the sexes. I think it's quite wrong. It's quite sad. I've always considered myself masculine, considered myself an alpha male. Obviously been in the gym business over 20 years, my own gym, everything. Seen it, done it, got the t-shirt, wore every t-shirt. Think as a man, as an alpha, I've always felt I could hold any room, hold a conversation in any room, always lead people through things, always step up anywhere and take responsibility. But I think along the way, even me personally, and at certain stages in life, I've misunderstood what being a man is or what being an alpha is. And I've let it lead me to be dominant, to be controlling. Realising then that came from a place of fear. Always loud instead of being grounded. Whereas I think, what's that saying? The loudest person in the room is normally the most insecure. That can ring true. I'm sure you're sitting there now thinking of a person, thinking of a time, a situation where some of those words will ring true to you. See, real authority, I think, is simply presence. No show, no bravado. Some of the strongest men, the strongest males I've been around, I've met, or I know, they don't denounce themselves. There's no big show. They can simply enter a room, have presence. They speak, people listen. They have authority. Self-mastery is there. Emotional intelligence is there. I've seen over the years, especially in the health and fitness, especially in the gyms, and see more now online, how the fitness world can reward those masks, builds up those masks. You know for a fact some things are really fake what's online there. And as I said earlier, the loudest, most confident person can be the most insecure, anxious. I know people who have drug habits. What that does though, is they're afraid to be alone, afraid to sit alone, to sit in solitude and to face into themselves. I know people who jump from relationship to relationship, from voice to voice, addiction to addiction, whether it's through gambling, drink, drugs, just replacing one thing after another or chasing one thing after another. There's no growth in that. You're conditioning, training yourself to hide things, to mask things. And what you have to do there is just sit, ask yourself, what mask am I wearing today? Who are you around? What behaviours do they bring out in you? And what way do you act around them? When you're in certain rooms, certain situations, what way do you behave? What do you hide? What do you big up? Because that can happen with us as well. We can shrink ourselves down and we can talk ourselves up to a bigger game. And that's where just going in on that self-awareness, the self-development, and facing into the darker side of things. Not the fancy, fluffy stuff. That's where you find out what mask you're really wearing, who you really are, and that will give you more direction, clarity, and where you're really going. There's so many men and women out there walking around, hiding behind a smile, carrying on with their work, carrying on with their life. And if they actually just pause, stop, for someone to ask what's behind that smile. For you now to think about, what mask are you wearing today? What masks do you maybe need to take off and let go of to move forward in the new year? Is there people around, environments around? They will all dictate what mask you're wearing, how your day is going, your week is going, your year is going to go. This podcast is just for that man behind the smile. Not to fix anybody, not to label anybody. Anything I talk about or say is simply from a lived experience. It's not to preach down or to speak high on a pedestal. To get people thinking. If anyone wants to walk this path with me, you're more than welcome. I'm here for you, here in your corner. We're going to build up the next couple of episodes around identity, building up purpose, habits that help reset, help rebuild, not to destroy, and just to step forward into 2026, step forward into yourself. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate the support as always. Have a great week. Catch you on the next one.